The Ghana cedi is having a big baller year and standing up against the US dollar in 2025. The Ghana cedi appreciated by 32% in the first 11 months of 2025, according to the Bank of Ghana. That is good news for Ghana, and we need to keep this going. How can we keep this going? That is the point of this video. I'm going to explain to you how we got here and how we can get better from here. My name is Cedi Tony. I'm a Ghanaian writer who lives in the US. On this channel, I talk about geopolitics from the perspective of an African. So if you're interested in intellectual conversations, subscribe to this channel. Now, let's get right into it. So I'll tell you a little history of the Ghana cedi because it is important to the suggestions I'm about to make over here. So there is something in forex called peg. Yes, it is spelled the same way as the peg you use to hold your clothing. So the peg you use to hold your clothing, when you put them on your clothing on the line, what does it do? It holds your clothing steady on the line, and then whatever happens, your clothing will be steady. So wind blow, big wind, as long as your peg is steady, the clothing is steady. You understand that? If something should happen to your peg, maybe it's weak, it affects the clothing, right? Good. So some currencies in the world have pegs, or almost every currency in the world that is powerful has a peg that is holding it, and that is what we call a currency peg. And so the Ghana cedi in 1965 used the pound sterling as our peg. So as long as the pound sterling is doing well on the world market, the Ghana cedi was doing well on the world market. So the Ghana cedi, 1 pound was equal to 2.4 cedis in 1965. And so Ghana had to make sure that the pound was doing well. So Ghana used to buy the pounds and use the pounds for transactions. That is why in our forefathers, our parents, and our grandparents who grew up in the 1960s will tell you how they use pounds to do shopping in Ghana. And that is how, cities, things like penny became part of Ghana's currency, or Ghana's parlance. There are certain things that are part of our conversations in Ghana because we were using both the Ghana cedi and the pound sterling in 1965, right? And we didn't really have to use the pound sterling. We just thought that we wanted to help the British economy as well. We're nice guys. I'm not kidding. I'm serious. And so in 1966, when Nkrumah was overthrown, the National Liberation Council took over and they removed the pounds as the peg for Ghana cedi. The National Liberation Council thought that Ghana was spending too much money on trying to buy the pound sterling, and we didn't have the money. Government expenditure was going up, all those things. And because of that, we removed the pound sterling as our peg. So from 1966 going on, Ghana did not have any peg. Zero peg. But I also need to point out that before 1965, Ghana did not have a peg and our currency was doing okay. We got the pound sterling as a peg because our currency wasn't doing well and we needed to maintain our currency. That's why we got the pounds. But it looks like getting the pounds did not really help. So our currency was removed from the pounds as the peg. You understand that? I needed to clear that out because I know that we have the tendency of blaming one party or one government for our problems and praising one party or one government for good things. I don't like doing that because there's one Ghana. And if you read the Constitution of Ghana, the word there is the government of Ghana. Where's my Constitution? Yeah, it's in my bedroom. Yeah. The word there is the government of Ghana. The government of Ghana is not NPP or NDC. It is government. Whether you have a party in office you like or not, you have one government. This is important because of the next thing I'm about to say. So from the early 2000s, Ghana started conversations about having a gold reserve with the aim that the gold reserve will help the government of Ghana to maintain our currency. So we wanted to have the gold reserve, so the gold reserve will be the peg for our currency. You understand that? And this made sense because Ghana used to be called the Gold Coast. We are the number one producer of gold in Africa, one of the top five producers of gold in the world. So having gold as our peg made sense. And so the gold as our peg was introduced in the early 2000s, and we started collecting the gold reserve. But guess what? By 2021, Ghana had 8.7 tons of gold in our gold reserve. Nothing that is beneficial to our economy. The gold reserve was virtually non-existent. And so in 2021, the government in Ghana at the time, Akufo-Addo, noticed that our currency was not doing well. So we had to do something about it. So the government started using Ghana Cedi to buy gold domestically. Because on the world market, gold is bought with dollars. But we need to do something to maintain our currency. So they introduced the policy of, what did they call it? Domestic gold purchase program. So they were buying gold from local miners with our Ghana Cedi and increasing our gold reserve. The goal was to increase our gold reserve, and I think the goal was to double it within 5 years. And so that policy was put in place and it started working. But it takes time for monetary policies to take effect. So the gold reserve thing started working, but it wasn't working fast enough. So the government started what we call gold for oil. We started an exchange program where we will barter oil from other countries with gold. And that was also a program that the government, did. That program was sort of a failure because we were giving the people who were buying oil from more gold for oil. So let's say if the oil is 5 Ghana and the gold we have is 7 Ghana, you give them the 7 Ghana gold for the 5 Ghana oil. That was bad. And so earlier this year, the government of Ghana, through the Bank of Ghana, cancelled the gold for oil program. And that also helped our economy to stop losing money to foreign exchange. And the price of gold started appreciating, our gold reserves started increasing. Then the third thing that happened was our IMF expenditure went down. Our restructured debt with IMF in 2025 was so that Ghana was no longer spending that much money to service our debt to IMF. Our expenditure was down. And so our gold reserve is increasing as a country. Gold price is increasing as a country. And our expenditure is coming down as a country. And that is why the Ghana Cedi is doing well. Some of it is because the Mahama administration decided to continue the policies that were started by the Akufo-Addo administration. I am grateful that happened because I have a video where I explain Africa moving away from the US dollar. I'll put it at the end of this video. And in that video, I explained that continuity is important. The reason why the world trusts the US dollar is because of continuity. The world trusts that it doesn't matter whether Democrats or Republicans are in office, the US economy would have the same trajectory. That is no longer the case. But because of that idea of continuity, people trust the dollar. And so Mahama not removing away drastically from Akufo-Addo's monetary policies is good for our economy and our image abroad because it tells the world that Ghana is stable. Stability is not about change of government. Stability is about continuity of important policy no matter who is in power. Some things will change. Who is in? You change the governor of Bank of Ghana, you change the finance minister, you will change ministers, you change president, that is okay. But if you are changing these people, you don't change them in a way, you don't let the new people come in and move the goalposts in a way that is, a shock to the economy. So personally, I've seen people say this, and I agree with this. Mahama first term, the aura was off. His second term, the aura is better because Mahama probably learned from the mistakes of his first term and making sure he doesn't repeat them. There are some mistakes that he's doing, his ministers are doing that I've noticed. Some of it I've talked about on this channel. But as a whole, the economic policies of Mahama are working. The gold reserve thing, I believe that we need to continue and even get more gold reserve. The gold board thing was a good idea. He should allow the gold board and the Bank of Ghana to work together to raise our gold reserve even faster than was put in place by the Akufo-Addo administration. And so, as long as that happens, Ghana Cedi will keep winning against the dollar. I've read the budget, some of it. I don't see any drastic changes that will cause us to go back. As long as the government sticks to its program, our Cedi would keep going. And of course, this is also subject to global events. Something can happen on the global in the global market that might affect us negatively. So we are in December. So I've started looking at the 2025 year in retrospect and trying to anticipate what will happen in 2026. So in future, I probably will do another video on the Ghana Cedi proper and give you more explanations. This is just to explain the issue of gold reserve and how it is benefiting our economy. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel. We'll talk again in future.